Hello yet again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and I am back for another Access Unlocked video. And for those of you who are new to the channel, this is a series I started not terribly long ago. But Access Unlocked videos are basically where I take a look at a particular game, or gameplay type, or genre, and I look at ways to maybe make it more accessible to a low vision or even totally blind, especially totally blind audience. So we are returning to a game that I covered earlier this week. Little game, as you see right there, Way of the Passive Fist. I still really like that name, by the way. I like their little pun there. And it's really funny, you know, following people on Twitter and just seeing them realize, oh yeah, pacifist, passive fist, got it. But anyway, this is a 2D brawler in the style of Double Dragon or Streets of Rage or Final Fight, anything like that, but it is more defense focused. Actually, it is very defense focused, where you're basically doing parries, and you are also, like, it's all about parries and movement, and then occasionally, you know, once you get them tired enough, then the enemies, you can defeat them. So I'm going to do a couple of different things in this video. First, I'm going to, because there are a few people even that I know of who are totally blind or very low vision, who have started to play this game or who are interested in this game. So I'm going to start by talking about this game specifically, Way of the Passive Fist, and maybe fill in a few blanks that even as a low vision user, you know, I watched a little bit of a Let's Play from a blind YouTuber the other day, and you know, even as a low vision user, I find that there are, oh yeah, okay, that's something that I just take for granted because, you know, as someone who has played these types of games before, or someone who can't see the interface, you know, won't necessarily pick up on those things, and I found it actually really interesting. So I want to take you guys through this game in particular, and then I want to talk about just beat-em-ups or brawlers, whatever you want to call them. I want to talk a little bit about that and the genre itself, whether you're defense or your traditional offensive game, you know, like that where you're actually punching and kicking people, and how to make those more accessible to a blind audience, because I think it can be done. So, before I do either of those things, though, I do just really quickly want to mention that I really have been having a blast lately doing these YouTube videos, interacting with people on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, at BGFH79, I've actually become pretty active there over the last several months. I mean, I've had the account for several years now, but I've kind of, you know, for quite a while I've been more of a lurker, reading people's tweets, retweeting, but I've actually been, you know, a lot more engaged, following more people, having more Twitter discussions, you know, just in the public feed, and direct messages, all kinds of different things. But I gotta say, I've really been having a lot of fun interacting with other blind or low vision gamers, developers, doing, you know, beta tests, or, you know, helping give feedback on how to make titles more accessible, be it a mobile game, a PC game, console game, working with Microsoft, working with, you know, like I said, beta testing for some iOS games that I've done in the past. Just, it's really been a lot of fun, and you know, it's just, I really wish I could attend the Game Developers Conference and the GA Conference, the Game Accessibility Conference, later this month, because there's so much happening right now, and I just love it. And you know, I have a full-time day job, which I really like. I do really like it, and there's a lot of cool things I do as part of that. But honestly, as much fun as I've been having, you know, I'm not getting paid to cover these games. I'm not getting, I'm not really making any money doing it, but just being involved and trying to, seeing the progress that's being made in accessibility, game accessibility, and actually trying to be a part of that. It's just really fulfilling, actually. And, hopefully can do more of that. And if developers are interested in reaching out to me for game accessibility discussion, or if they want feedback or have questions, definitely leave a comment below or DM me on YouTube or hit me up on Twitter at BGFH79, and we'll go from there. I've done it in the past and would gladly do it some more. I'd love to work with Microsoft some more. I mean, yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, and I would love, even, like, heck, I would love to do some moonlighting, It's like, okay, I have my day job, but hey, if I could kind of turn this into a professional sort of a gig, however it would be done, I'm all for it, because I'm having a blast. Anyway, enough of the long intro, where we've kind of been looking at this opening cutscene and this great music. But let's check out this game. So, Way of the Passive Fist. If you are totally blind and you want to know the interface, I know one place that they got stuck right early on was when you hit A, the first thing that you do is you choose between 3 save slots. So 1, 2, 3. And it does wrap. It does wrap from bottom to top, or vice versa. So you do have to kind of keep track. Maybe there could be a sound effect for when you do wrap around, like you'll hear the beep, but then maybe you would hear an additional tick. Or maybe, you could, I like the fact that it does wrap around, but maybe giving some indicator when you've, done the wrap up or down. So we're going to choose, say we have 3 of them, so I'm going to choose slot A. This is your main menu, and it's pretty straightforward. You have story mode on the top, which is what you automatically will land on. Then you have arcade mode and options. Again, it wraps around, so we're back on story mode. I was just hitting down. We'll go into story here shortly. Arcade mode, I don't think, I still haven't even gotten far enough along. I think you have to probably beat a level, and boy howdy, that boss that I was fighting in the other video, unfortunately, I do know what I have to do to beat him, and it was what I thought I had to do, but accomplishing it is going to be a whole other issue. Let's go down one more to options, and I will tell you guys, so when you do the options menu, it actually doesn't bring you to a whole new screen. It actually pops down almost like a sub-menu, but it does treat itself like you're on a new screen. So you can hit B to back out, and then the menu disappears and you're back on options. So I could arrow down once to story, or I could arrow, up twice, whatever you want to do. But let's go back down to options. And in options, we have controls, audio, video, credits, and English. Probably don't want to change that. And I hit down arrow again, it will wrap down to controls. So on the controls screen on the left side, you've got a picture of the current controller, in which case I'm using the Xbox One controller. Now, this one, okay, interesting. You can actually hit B to back out. Let me go down to audio. I just want to see something really fast. They must have patched that. Because I remember making a video, when I made the Wednesday video, I had commented that I couldn't back out of, I always had to go all the way back up to the top, and I couldn't hit B. Now you can. Awesome. Okay, so let's go back into controls for a moment. But your top option is back if you want to do it that way. Then you really have basically every button or every move that you can do in the game that you can rebind to whatever analog stick, whatever D-pad, whatever. So you have reset to defaults is the first one down. Then you have vibration. You can turn that on and off. Then you have the buttons themselves. You have parry, check or shove, super move, dash, dodge. So those are your primary actions. And then you have move up, move left, move down, move right. And then you basically have your prompts telling you hit A or hit B to go back. So that is the order of the controls if you want to change something. So that little bzz, even if you had a sound effect like that, when you did the looping, that would make it easier for a blind user to know, if you're going to use the menu wrapping like that, to more easily orient themselves if they get lost and there is no text-to-speech to fall back on. Audio. So here is where we have a back again, and each one you have a reset defaults underneath that. And then you have master volume, music volume, sound volume, and voice volume. So those are your 4 sliders, and that's really what we have under audio. Video, you have back and reset. Then you have brightness, and it's a slider, left-right slider. You have shaking effects, shaking effects. Then you have combat info, you can turn on or off. XL HUD scaling, okay. High contrast, on or off. Flashing FX. And then you can turn windowed mode on or off. And finally, you can choose the screen resolution. So that is kind of the order. So if you do want to change any of those things, I mean, I suppose if, you know, and if you are totally low vision, the high contrast mode is actually really helpful. I do quite like high contrast mode, actually. I actually wish more games would even, like, even if you had like a desaturate mode, where I mean, I like how the background, they have it where, you know, you don't necessarily, it doesn't eliminate the backgrounds, but it just kind of darkens them. And, you know, especially in a game, a lot of modern, really high-end games, I'm kind of interested in Far Cry 5, but a lot of those games that have these, you know, especially really realistic and graphics, and you're in forests and really, you know, high detail things where enemies can hide in trees, and, or, you know, it's just really hard to spot people. If you could desaturate some of that and make the enemies really pop out, almost like Uncharted 4 did, would be fantastic. So that is basically your options here. We're going to back out and we'll go to story mode. And now that you're on story mode, there are 10 levels, it looks like, all of which are locked except for the first one for me right now because I still haven't beaten the first level. And on the very bottom you have leaderboards. So after I can hit up arrow, and I can so it'll wrap down to the bottom, and I'll be on leaderboards. So if I hit A on that, there you go. We'll hit B to back out. We'll arrow down. So now we're going to go into a level, and I'm going to put it on easiest difficulty on all of them. And I almost need an even bigger I suck mode because I was getting my butt kicked when I last played this. Now you have your 4 sliders here. Your top option is basically you can play. But below that you have 4 sliders, and the first one is enemy strength, encounters, combo mastery, and resourcefulness. Those are your 4 sliders. And I think if so I have it, I'm hitting left on the D-pad right now. So it does indicate that I cannot go any further left. If I go all the way to the right, same thing. So we're definitely going to go all the way to the left. We're going to hit up. We're going to hit A. And we'll go through our little story spiel here. Then I'm going to, actually, believe it or not, and I even prepared for this video, I took some notes, because like I said, I was watching Liam's video of him playing the game, and he gave me a lot of great ideas, so thanks for that, man. You know what, you even taught me a couple things that I was stupid and didn't realize when you were playing, like, oh, I didn't realize you could interact with those things. There are some containers, objects in the background or on the top part of the screen. I thought they were just decoration, and you can actually break them open for supplies, which, hey, I did not know, but now I do. So now we're going to get into the game itself. So this plays like a 2D brawler, as I said earlier. Again, if you're familiar with games like Double Dragon, Streets of Rage, Final Fight, whatever. And one of the things that I noticed was that they didn't know which. Oh God, this is going to so it actually let me continue at the. Oh boy, the checkpoint to the boss. Let me see something really fast. If it is, I'm going to start slot. Yeah. Oh, okay. I was going to say I'm going to hit slot 2. Let me pause it again. So, you know, he wasn't sure. Are you going right or are you going left? Because most of the time, you know, or are you going, you know, is forward up? Like if you were behind the back third person, or is it, you know, like a side scrolling left to right? And in this game, you are going, at least in the first level, you're going left to right. So your play field is basically, think about it like, you know, you're looking at a scene in front of you and you're continually going forward, which is right. But you can also move up and down, which means, you know, you're moving essentially closer to, you know, closer to the camera or further away along the ground. You know, a lot of games you have like streets or something where you have the street on the bottom and then the sidewalk more toward the top. So it's just kind of like a flattened perspective of that. So let's fight a guy here. Okay, we fought that guy successfully. Yeah, oh, hold on. Had to remember the controls for a minute. Okay. So, that is the play field. Let me open up my little iPad here, and that way I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything. Okay, so we just that. One thing to make note of right away that is going to make this game, at least at the moment, more difficult for a totally blind player, is that this game currently, the game sound effects are in mono. So I stressed that a couple times in my other video. I didn't know if it was something on my end or something with the game, but I watched other people's videos, and I heard there was actually, if you again follow me on Twitter, look at my previous posts, I retweeted a really interesting conversation from the developers about why it's currently in mono and like the way their engine works and some of the limitations and stuff. So they're going to try to work on, you know, possibly as things get updated, if they can add, you know, more of a stereo panning support for the audio. So, you know, enemies will not just come forward, come from the right, but they will also come from behind. So once you hear that, that means you're going to enter a battle. And when you do that, one thing to mitigate that a little bit might be for you to, you know, hurry up and move all the way to the left of the screen and then kind of turn around to your right again. That way, for the most part, enemies can only come at you from one direction. So at least then you'll know, and then you can just move up and down if you want to, you know, dodge out of the way, but you can still stay far to the left. And that will kind of hopefully mitigate some of the problem of not being able to hear what direction enemies are coming from. Checkpoints are also not, they don't have an audible sound until you actually interact with them. So remember when I said it's left to right, going right is forward. Checkpoints are always at the top. So after you finish a battle, especially if you're playing on some of the lower difficulty levels, there seems to be, you know, checkpoints are pretty frequent. So go to the top, just hit up for a while, and then move to the right, and every so often keep hitting the right trigger, and that will hopefully interact with the checkpoint. So let's play a little more here. I'm going to move all the way to my left. I'm going to turn around. And I'm going to suck, apparently. Really? Ugh. Not my best work. There we go. Okay. There we go. We beat the battle. So far, that has actually worked. That has actually worked really well. All the guys, when more guys appeared, they just kind of came in, and they just kind of jumped right in front of me. And so you're fighting multiple enemies, but they're doing like a tag team type of battle. So, you know, one guy might fight you. He might throw a few punches or kicks or throws or whatever they're doing. And then another guy will swoop in his place. And they keep kind of going back and forth until, you know, one gets stunned and then you're dead. So that's the other thing, is you're blocking or you're parrying or you're dodging. You're parrying with X, you're blocking, or you're dodging with B, and you, depending on their attack. Now, here's the other problem that I noticed, is that the enemies there's no audio indicating when somebody is stunned. So that you visually see they kind of slouch over a little bit and they look all tired. But there's no audio indicating that. So that's something, you know, even if they don't add stereo in right away, adding an extra sound effect to indicate the stunned state would be, I think, would theoretically be a pretty easy addition to add. So let's walk forward, and we're going to do my practice. We're going to walk all the way up to the top. We're going to walk forward. And this is what you hear when nothing happens. My right trigger. And again, I can see what's going on, so you're just going to hear. Now what you can also do, now this here, that was not a checkpoint. I busted something open. Now, here's the other issue that blind players are going to have. Checkpoints are always in the top, right at the top of the play area. Power-ups, as we just shown here, can appear anywhere vertically in the area. So there are times where you can bust things open. There are times after a battle where you'll just see a medkit on the ground. And they're typically sort of in the middle. But if you look here, they're... Oh, shoot, I've been blabbing too much. Okay. Haha, that sucks. I missed that power-up on the left. 3 power-ups spawned. And they were all... You know, one was in the far left of the screen, a little bit lower. The middle one was a little lower than that. And then the right one was a little bit higher. So some kind of audio, maybe in with like a pitch to kind of, you know, a slight pitch to tell where the objects are. That's something, you know, again, in most brawlers like this have power-ups. They could be weapons that you can pick up and use. They could be, you know, so you could maybe have, like, you know, I'm thinking of more of an offensive game. You could have like a, you know, a baseball bat. You could maybe have like a slight, you know, like somebody's smacking a, you know, a baseball bat. You could have, you know, a metal crowbar, you know, more of a metallic sounding thing. Or you could just have a general, you could just have one general sound. And especially if you had text-to-speech support, you know, there's been other games where you pick up something and it'll say, you know, you'll hear the general sound for an object, and then once you pick that object up, you would hear what it is. But even if you didn't have TTS support, what you could do is you could have a general sound for an object, you know, any object, and then when you pick it up, you could hear that baseball bat sound effect, or a little, you know, like a gun reloading sound effect if you picked up a gun or something. Something to indicate to the blind player what it is that you are picking up. And that applies for a lot of games, not just Brawlers, but in any kind of game where you're moving around and picking up items. So let's try to find that checkpoint, which I see just ahead. So we're not hearing anything. There we go. That is our checkpoint. So now we're moving on to our next, let's do another battle. And what you have to really listen for in this game in particular is usually it's like a shorter sound effect, like a shorter enemy grunt. Usually means you parry. If there's more of a, you know, like a wind up, or there's, you know, more longer thing, then you really got to dodge. And I noticed that, like, some of these guys that I'm fighting right now, they actually do other moves later where it'll be like you have to do parry, parry, dodge. Or the ladies that we're going to fight here in a little bit. When they throw their weapon, you can parry those, but when she's like, you know, just the longer one, then you have to dodge. So the longer ones typically, so far at least, have meant you do the dodge. Okay, we're going to go all the way to the left. Turn around. There we go. So when she goes, ow. Ow. That's really bad. Oh, I did it too early. Man! I never said I was going to be good. I'm just showing you how to play. Oh, kick ass! You can hit B with the knives and then you can chuck them back. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that. I like that. Hell yeah, that's awesome. That feels way cooler. And that's a sandstorm. Yes! And even better, it's like a one-hit kill. That's badass. I like that. Okay. Yeah, you know what? For this game, staying on the left-hand side does work, because then they can't get behind you. That's just a general. Even if you can see the game, to prevent guys from like going on either side of you, that's just a really helpful thing in general. I'm going to use that. I'm going to keep using that. So again, we're going to go to the top. Nothing. Boom. Okay, we got a checkpoint. Now I do see, I'm going to walk a little bit forward. And if I go down, yep, okay. So we got the power up here. Let me check my notes here again, just because we've been covering a lot of the different things. I just want to make sure that I'm explaining some of the mechanics in this game for you. I'm not missing anything. So yeah, power-ups. Yeah, the breakable stuff, I talked about that already. Yeah, so types of enemies and attacks. Again, the longer sounding ones are usually when you have to dodge. Yeah. yeah, so... Yeah, and again, there's no sound effect for a stunned enemy, so what you might want to do... let's say that you attack... and maybe something doesn't... Like, usually a guy will just swoop right back in. But if there's an extra second or so where you don't hear somebody immediately swipe in and you haven't heard that little guitar tune to tell you that you're done, hit Y, because there, you may be able to do that little, punch attack and knock that guy out until the next guy shows up, and that'll trigger the next guy to tag in again. So yeah, that really covers a lot of this game in particular. I'll breeze through again. I'll breeze through a few more suggestions here while I have the game paused, and then to wrap it up, I will again use a lot of what I explained to you guys, and we'll play through maybe a couple of more battles just so you can hear more gameplay and kind of, get to understand. You hear a few more enemy types, hear a couple of attacks, and just I'll kind of narrate again what I'm doing. Hopefully that'll help more blind and low vision players be able to play the game. So again, some general suggestions for making these types of games accessible: 2D brawlers, beat 'em ups, whatever you want to call them. Couple of suggestions for developers. Really, the good thing would be to include good stereo panning. If enemies come in, or objects, or vehicles, or whatever comes in from the left or the right, you want to be able to hear that kind of panning towards you as you move or as they move. If you have enemies, walking in, a lot of games you don't really hear enemy footsteps. You only hear sound effects when you initiate an attack or they hit you. Like if you get punched or kicked, or they punch you or kick you, you hear that, but you don't. A lot of these types of games, you don't hear the footsteps. But even having your specific footsteps, or a sound for the other footsteps for enemies, so a blind person would at least know, okay, there's somebody coming from. Otherwise I'm not gonna know until I'm getting punched. What direction they're coming from. You could also do like centering. You could treat it like the player is the center, and then as things get more toward the center, how close or far away they are. So if you hear something really panned out to the left, let's say, then they're pretty far away. But as they get closer to your center channel in your headphones or your speakers, then that, okay, I better start attacking or blocking or whatever it is. Or your steps could also be mixed in, and as you move left, you could be more closer. Your footsteps could be, sound closer to the guys on the left. There's a couple of different ways that you could approach that. Let's see. Include sounds for enemy status. Again, things like if they're winding up for an attack, maybe there's a charge attack that you're trying to block or that you have to dodge. Stunned or tired states, as in this game. Any kind of like status effects, letting the blind user know that's going to happen. Sound effects for interactable items. It could be checkpoints like in this game. It could be weapon pickups, picking up a weapon, a melee or ranged weapon. Could be a power-up, like a health power-up or experience, whatever type of thing you're shooting for. Audio for approaching hazards. I don't know if there's going to be some in this game, but there's I'm thinking of like Final Fight, Double Dragon. There'll be areas where you'll have to jump over a pit, or there's a poison or a spike, or there's some sort of there's an iOS game that I'm playing called Beat Street. And, there's little like landmines in the play area. There are, other little things that you can step on and get hurt. So having, again, anything that is gameplay important, having some sort of either vibration or sound effect to indicate those things to the blind or low vision player. Let's see. Here's another idea is in the other video I mentioned, giving the choice for, using the analog stick or the D-pad to move. Another option could be if, let's say in this game, if you're using the analog stick to move, maybe you could use the D-pad, different directions on the D-pad, to indicate things to a blind player. So maybe if I hit up on the D-pad, I would hear my current health status. So, maybe you would just say 75%. If I hit, down or right or whatever, I could hear my current combo or whatever. And, it just depends. Whatever, if you're in a game where you level up, maybe hitting a direction could tell you the level. Or the D-pad also could be used for using items. You're moving with the analog stick, and using the D-pad could be used for using consumable items. It just depends on how complex your gameplay systems are. Including sounds for like a special meter. So like again, in this game, I haven't really heard, I think there's a subtle sound we're going to have to pay attention. But like as I'm blocking or as I'm parrying and dodging, I can hear attacks, and I hear like a dunk, dunk. So you hear like a sound as your meter is filling up, but having a nice pronounced sound for, hey, my meter is full, now I can do my special powerful punch attack. Or in like fighting games, I mentioned here, like again, you look at like Mortal Kombat or some of these other fighting games, Street Fighter, where you have your power meter, your special meter may have multiple triggers. So if you fill it up halfway, you can do kind of a smaller powerful attack, and then if you fill it up all the way, you can do just this devastating type of attack. So if you have that kind of a split, making sure that those sound effects are clearly audible, so that a player can hear that. And finally, just adding text-to-speech. I mean, this is the ultimate wish for blind and low vision gamers. Even as someone with low vision, I still have to get in close to the screen a lot of times. And so, having text-to-speech via a screen reader on a computer, or through narrator on the Xbox, or, something within game. Maybe you could go under options, and you could turn on, whether it was recorded audio or however you did it, as you arrow through the menus, it would just say. There was remember I did a video for Sanitarium on the PC, which is an old adventure game that came out in the 90s. And one of the coolest things was you couldn't do it with keyboard, but it was a mouse game. But as you moved over the menus, it had this weird, like, ethereal main menu, options, quit. So it fit the style of the game, but it had, but it was voiced, and that was really cool for presentation. But it was also really nice and helpful for accessibility. Again, look at Skullgirls for the PC. Look at one of my PC accessible games spotlight videos for Skullgirls. You want to see how a developer was able to make it work with whatever screen reader a blind person is running, they can play. So that is really the main feedback in general for 2D brawlers, beat 'em ups, and this game. I'm hoping that other blind and low vision players watch this. I hope that it helps them. I hope that maybe the developer of this game, if they watch this video, I hope it gives them a few more pointers or a few more ideas on things to try. And again, I still have to really, commend the developers of this game. because they've, you know, again, while it may be some aspects of it may not be quite as easy for a totally blind player, the way they thought about accessibility for all kinds of disabilities and just general players is awesome. Because, you know, you have the high contrast, you have the extra large HUD that I have turned on. I could turn some of the other HUD off, like the combo meters and stuff, if I didn't want that distraction. I can remap the buttons, and not just the buttons, but like, you know, I could use analog sticks instead of buttons if I wanted to. I learned you could do that. And the way that they thought about some of this stuff from the beginning of the design, when things weren't set in stone, that's really what you have to do. Because otherwise, you know, people say, well, we've done too much work, we can't modify that, you know. But if you at least, you know, want to try to open your game up to more players, please try to think about that from the beginning. And again, I'm so glad that these guys did that, and they totally deserve the support for doing that. So that's awesome. I'm just trying to think if there's anything, because I can't really talk when I do the next fights because I want to really listen to the audio and hopefully not suck. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I can think of before we wrap up and do a couple battles so you can hear more of the gameplay in action. But yeah, I mean, I really said I hope this is helpful, and hope you guys enjoyed it. So we're going to move forward. Oh, okay, we got our battle. We're going to move all the way to the left. We're going to turn around. Oh yeah, Biggin. See, hear his footsteps. Oops. Because I can. Okay. Ah! Ah! Oh, I love that, grabbing the weapon and just flinging it back. That's so awesome. Dust Storm. There we go. Ow, that was bad. Let's see, that was he was stunned. He was tired there. Yeah, you know what? Going to the far left is actually really helpful. Even though I can see, like, I'm physically sort of, I mean, I'm watching the enemies as they come close, but like, as far as the interesting thing to note is, even as a low vision player, I actually find that I'm not as much paying attention to the visuals. I am when it comes to the parrying and blocking, or parrying and dodging, I'm actually relying on the audio cues, and I'm kind of just, you know, watching passively the visuals. If I don't necessarily catch up on all the subtleties, it doesn't really matter to me, because I'm really going by, okay, you know, oh, I know this attack is pretty frequent. I know this other attack, I gotta wait a second or two. I've kind of starting to get the timing down. So, oh, we got another thing here. Okay. Oh, okay, I'm full. Oh, you know what? That was just the thing that disappeared before. I think that was just the door that fell off of that thing. So I didn't miss a power-up before. I want to play a little bit more just because I want to try to get to... I'd like to get to the part where those other guys, you know, the regular guys that you're fighting, where they do the fast attacks, and then they start doing like a charge attack. I don't know if we're going to get that, but just watch my other video. If I don't, you'll hear me do badly. But... Ow! Oh, it's so good. Instant death. It's so great. Ah! Ow. Oh. What am I doing? Blarg. Sit down. There we go. Okay, these guys. See that? You have to dodge. You hear the that one you gotta dodge. Ow! Dude! Hey! Ow! That was... That was incorrect. I didn't do it quick enough. Yeah! That's my favorite move so far. Okay, well, that was pretty sloppy Joe, but we got her done. But yeah, so you heard though, that was those regular guys. You know, they come in, you hear the and then you hear the and then you have to really, that one you really got to dodge. At least that's the way I handle it. Seems to work pretty well. Let's do one more, and then we'll wrap it up. I need health. Give me health. My health is... Oh, God. I'm gonna die. Oh, yeah, the fast guy. Ow! Would you enough? So it's two... Ah! Ow. No. Ow. Yeah, okay, that was me dying. Bummer, man. Let's do... So I gotta start with full health. Let's do one more battle full health. Let's see if I can get through it here. All the way to the left. There we go. Ah, you bastard. Ow. Ow. Okay. Punch that guy. There we go. Okay, that... let's see here. That guy came in from the left. Okay, well, my theory may have been blown to bits a little bit here. Hold on. Ow. Ow. Enough. The timing is just... Yes! Gotta do that one more time. That guy came in from the left. So yeah, I don't think... So you occasionally can... It's not a foolproof strategy, staying from the far left, but... Okay, I still died. But I purposely didn't turn... That's where I was taking a lot of my hits, too, because I wanted to see... You know, eventually, like I said, the guys move around even when they're not, when they're tagging in different people. Like they will move around. They kind of they'll swish around, they'll dash around, and eventually they will move over to the right and then get in front of you. Oh, I did forget to mention one of the other questions that when I was watching the stream, he had asked, do the enemy, one thing, I know they attack from left and right, but do they also attack from up and down? And the answer is no, they don't. They only attack from the left or from the right. And 9 times out of 10, that's how most of these classic brawlers or beat 'em ups work. I can't even really think of any that do attack from up and down unless they're going for a full 3D brawler, which, oh boy, those games didn't turn out very well. I remember they did like a Final Fight 3D type of game on like the PlayStation N64 era or something, and ooh, it was not good. But yeah, so they do only attack from the left and right. So going all the way to the left is not foolproof, especially if they come in from the left and you don't necessarily know that. So one thing to note is if they start you're blocking and you think you're doing it right, you may have to, at least for a brief, that first attack, you may have to turn your body to face and then try to block. But eventually they will move. So you may want to just move up or down as well, and then that will, like, if you start, actually that would be the better option, is if you're getting hit and you're hitting and you think you're blocking right, move up or down, and that will probably cause them to scooch on over to the right, and then you'll be okay. So anyway, it's been a long video again, but I went a lot more in depth with this, again, access unlocked for Way of the Passive Fist and 2D Brawlers beat 'em ups. Hopefully, hope you guys found this entertaining. Hope you guys found it helpful. And, yeah, I mean, this, like I said, I've just really been getting into this game accessibility thing. It's pretty fun. It's really fun. I hope people get use out of it. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. If you know of any other people who may be interested, please let them know. If you're a developer and are interested in accessibility, or you know a developer who maybe you're a blind or low vision gamer and you're interested in a game similar to this, or you look at my other access unlocked videos or some of my other accessible games that you could point them to, my accessible game spotlight videos for iOS or PC. Share it with developers and, as a resource. And if you're a developer, you want to, get things, you want to try to make your game more inclusive to a wider audience for blind and low vision, let me know. See what I can do to help. So we'll wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. Join the Illegally Cited Steam group. Like and subscribe. All that stuff. And until next time, I will talk to you guys again later.